Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Jacqueline Cortez Salmons here at Transformation Health and Wellness. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. It is May 6th, 2020. And we are here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the things that you can do to keep yourself nice and healthy during this time. We're still in quarantine, but people are sort of coming out of our hidey holes a little bit. I know a lot of states are changing. So I'm having it's not the greatest hair day. So we're coming out, we're starting to phase out of quarantine back into the land of the living, which is, I think, a really good positive change. So we are starting to see that, but I know that it's with caution. A lot of us are very, very anxious about kind of coming back out of our hidey holes and figuring out what we need to do to stay safe. So this is going to be a really, really important transition. So one of the things that I want to remind you, if you feel comfortable with doing so, then you should wear a mask in public, at least for now. I personally don't. I think I've been exposed to a number of things just being in the healthcare profession. I've tested my antibodies, I've tested nasal swab, I've done all that stuff. So I feel pretty comfortable. But for particularly our more immune compromised people who are having issues, who are maybe more susceptible to infection and to this virus, you should probably wear a mask in public. That being said, let's kind of go through some of the rules, so to speak, of wearing a mask and what that all entails. So kind of mask wearing, hand washing 101, if you will. I know that there's been a lot of sort of comments made by those of us in the medical profession, like, oh, well, people don't know how to use masks and, it's not going to be all that helpful because you don't know what you're doing. Well, that's fine, but then nobody's actually telling you what to do, right? So let's make sure that we cover that today. So one of the things you want to do, hand me that mask, please. Right there in front of the keyboard. Okay. So preferably you'll have a mask that is actual mask material. So one of these that has the blue on one side and the white on the other. It's almost hard to tell in this lighting, but anyhow, so I'm showing the white to you and the blue. Now, there was a rumor a little bit ago about whether or not you should wear the blue side out if you're sick, but then the white side out if you're not sick, because that'll prevent things from coming and all this stuff. That is nonsense. You wear it the same way every time, whether you are sick or not sick. Okay, again, preferably if you are sick, then you want to be using your mask and you want to prevent your creeping crud, as we call it in our household, from getting expelled out into the public, right? That's really what you're using a mask for. It's not so much to prevent things from coming at you, so much as it is from you pushing your germs out on others. Okay, so again, as long as we're kind of setting those expectations out. Now, again, if the person you're talking to is wearing a mask and you're wearing a mask, then the likelihood of you guys transmitting a lot of droplets is pretty small. But that being said, there's not been a lot of studies to really see what the prevention level is in that scenario. We do know that fabric masks actually can allow up to 75% of particles to come through. Okay, remember, fabric is very, very porous as compared to the actual PPE type of filtered fabric that is used to make the actual medical grade masks. So something to keep in mind that while you're doing a little bit of benefit, again, I would rather that block 25% of pathogens rather than no percent of pathogens. But that being said, don't get overly confident using those fabric masks that they're going to be absolutely beneficial to you, because they may in fact not be blocking a whole lot, just to be honest, okay? So with that said, then you want to preferably have, like I said, a medical type of mask. This is not an N95. Okay, one second. N95s. There we go. Very rudimentary type of filming here, but N95s are that they're shaped. They come across the bridge of the nose. They are sealed here at the side. They're sealed under here. They do not hang down under the chin. These have to be actually professionally fitted in a medical setting. So as a medical professional, when I used to work in the hospital, we would go for a PPE fitting or for N95 fitting. every year, and we would have to use this for individuals when we were treating patients with tuberculosis or other highly contagious bacteria or viruses. So that's something that's going to have to be done on that level. Now, again, if that's all you can get your hands on because you're at Home Depot or what have you and they have them, great. Again, I'd rather you wear that or have grandma wear that going to the grocery store than wearing nothing. But not to get overly confident that, oh, just because I have an N95, like I cannot put this on my 10-year-old's face. Okay. So when I put this on her face, this is not protection, right? So kind of turn to the side there. So you see how much gap there is here at the bottom. You see how much there is at the sides. This is not beneficial as far as blocking pathogens. Okay, so that's not helpful. Same thing when we have these fabric masks, which one of our local friendly folks was so kind to make for us.
Sounds
right?
Nice.
So that's great. But again, when it's really sort of floppy, go ahead and put that on me. Okay. So again, hanging down here, turn to the side just a bit. Hanging down here, we've got some space here at the sides, all of these areas, even up at the top, right? Don't forget that as you're like coughing into your mask or breathing, sneezing, things come up through here as well. So that's going to not be blocked germs and pathogens at that moment as well. So something to think about. So what I prefer are the fabric or the hospital grade or medical grade type of mask, preferably one that has a moldable wire at the top. Okay, so you see I make it sort of in the shape of a V so that it goes across the nose and then I press it into my cheekbones. Now, my best case scenario, but it's also been difficult for us to get our masks as well. But what would be really optimal is if we have a piece of tape, like a double stick tape here. And again, a lot of masks are made with that in place already. But when we stick it there, then again, as I'm breathing, things are not coming up, near my eyeballs and kind of floating out into the world around me. Okay. Now, even this, again, I prefer the ones that would have a tie in the back. Okay. So that we minimize sort of this flappiness on the side. And we minimize this flappiness underneath here. So we really want to keep it as sort of close to our face as you can. Again, you want the blue side out because there's actually a little waterproof barrier. We do this in surgery so that as I'm working over an open incision, then I am not having, like, if blood flies up towards my face or any other type of bodily fluids, that it actually will kind of roll off of the mask. Okay, so that's the idea there, as opposed to the white side on the center. Again, with the lighting, I'm sorry, I can't figure the lighting out. Let me see if I just turn it off for a sec. Or that. Okay, so if you see the white side here is actually a filter sort of designed to help absorb our germs, our, sneezing, bodily fluids, things that were coming out. So again, as I'm standing over a patient doing surgery, I'm not breathing my germs into that open incision. That's the whole point of masks, okay? So it's not so that that patient doesn't infect me other than from, again, those bodily fluids, so much as it is from me coughing or sneezing or sputtering, drooling into my patient's incision as I'm operating. Okay. The other key thing to remember is that in a surgical field, and again, if we're going to act like everything's a surgical field now because we're trying to disinfect everything and make everything sterile, we can get into that topic in a little bit. But really, the most sterile area is from the shoulders to just below our waist. So basically, just below the belly button. This is it. Okay, that is the sterile space. So what does that mean? It means that I need to keep my hands in that space, that I'm not raising my hands up, I'm not touching my face, I'm not adjusting my mask, I'm not, picking at my ears, I'm not scratching my neck. I've now just destroyed my sterile field. Okay, so this is again where, like, the medical professionals sort of patronizingly look at the general public and say, well, they're not doing it right. Well, okay, then fine, you need to tell people the rules. And the rules are you need to keep your hands between your shoulders and just below your belly button. And that's it. So you don't want to reach down and scratch your leg. If you're getting things at the grocery store, you want things that are sort of at that level, theoretically. But again, everything you're touching in the grocery store is not sterile. It's not even like substerile. It's probably not even what we consider surgically clean. Okay, it's been handled by multiple people and so forth. Same thing with gloves, right? Could you grab me a pair of gloves?
Yeah.
We talk about a concept of transference, right? And this is something that's also key if you watch a lot of forensics shows and that kind of thing. Like, you can never enter a space without leaving some pieces of your DNA everywhere, your hair and skin particles and all of this, right? So it gets very fancy when you're watching forensic files, which I love. But that being said, then we do it on a day-to-day basis as well. So everything that we're touching, we're leaving germs, we're leaving skin cells, we're leaving good bacteria, we're leaving all of that stuff everywhere, right? So even if you're wearing gloves, you're still having transference happen, not so much from you to the outside world, right? But from the outside world to you. So now you're basically using a Swiffer to pick up all of the things that are around you. So you think you're doing a really great job because you got your mask on, right? And we're going to mold the nose and kind of do all this, right? Remember, this guy is like not fitted appropriately because I like the ones that tie. That's fine. We put on our gloves. The way you want to put on a glove is from holding the cuff, sliding your hand in, keep hold of the cuff, come to the other side of the cuff, and you pull it on. So nowhere is this hand touching the outside of this glove, right? Now I take my gloved hand, same, I pick up from the cuff, turn the thumb to the right direction, right? And again, I slide in, hold from the cuff, and slide on. Now I can kind of squish in and get my fingers situated, right? So this is good. Now, if I go and I scratch my head or I touch something or I'm fixing my eyeliner, what's the point of wearing these gloves? So now I have my funk on the outside of the gloves. And now as I go to touch something on the keypad at the grocery store, or I'm touching the oatmeal or the strawberries or whatever it is, I've now just taken my face funk and put it all over those items. Now I go from those items, I go up to the cash register. Cash register person has been wearing their gloves all day, right? So this is how it's still not beneficial. And then now I'm not washing my hands if they're in gloves, right? So I've seen actually some people washing their gloves. There's no evidence to support that washing your gloves helps in any way, shape, or form. What you would really need to do is just change gloves. So if you're in my practice, and I've taught my kids this as well when they're starting to prepare things, kind of working on teaching them, she's like, Mama, I've changed my gloves like 4 times. I'm like, yes, because every time you go from one space to another space, you need to change gloves. So you cannot touch like body fluids over here and then go back over to the countertop and pick up a bottle of something. Now you've taken those body fluids and put it all over this bottle, right? So it only goes one direction, right? You can't go back and forth, back and forth. So again, if I'm putting my hand on a doorknob, I do not have gloves on. Okay. If I do, then I've just taken whatever I've touched with that patient and put it on my doorknob for now some other patient to come and touch that doorknob. Does that make sense? So we really don't want to have a lot of this transference going on. So I'll take my gloves off. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Grab the doorknob, go get whatever I need out of the room, come back in, wash my hands with alcohol again, and put on a new pair of gloves, a new pair of gloves, right? We don't reuse, repurpose. Okay. So how does one effectively take off gloves? This is another thing that we're often not taught in the general population because there's really no need to, right? Now there is a need to. So I feel it's important to do this. So the way you want to do it, same way you put it on, is dealing with the cuff. So again, I don't want to like scoot it from here because I even have a hard time doing it in demonstration, even though I haven't touched anything because it's just how I've been trained. So you don't want to like slide all along. Now I've put whatever's on the outside of this glove all over my skin, right? And our skin is highly absorptive. Remember that our skin is the largest organ we have in the body. It absorbs everything around us. So even touching receipts, touching other things, it's already automatically pulling in all of those xenoestrogens, those hormones that look like hormones and don't act right in our bodies, right? So be very, very cautious about touching your skin, from one thing to another. So instead of that, you're going to pinch. Okay, get your pinchers out. You're going to grab and pinch the cuff, right? So I'm not touching my wrist or any part of my skin. I pull this guy. So I've looped it with my index finger, keeping all of my gloved portions, touching the gloved portions, no other skin, right? And I pull down. Now Now it's turned inside out. So all the grime that I just touched in my glove is now on the inside, okay? My hand oils and so forth are on the outside, but now it's my hand touching my hand, right? So all the grub is on the inside. Now I hold on to that, and I'll even do this if I have like a Band-Aid in my hand, if I have a gauze that I've used, scrunch it up. And now I don't want to touch here on the second hand, right? Because remember, there's all the glove stuff, body fluids all sitting here. So I don't want to touch that. Now it's bare hands, right? So my bare hand goes to the inside of the cuff. Okay, so now it's my skin touching my skin, glove touching glove. Okay, and I take that from the cuff and I pull forward. So whatever Band-Aids, gauze, other garbage that I have in here, everything's on the inside. It's one little pouch and we throw it away. There is no retrieving it. There is no 5-second rule, right? If these hit the ground, they are done. Done, done, done. And my patients can even attest to the fact that there's times I pull it out of the glove box, you know, on the wall, and like 2 or 3 come out and they fall on the floor. Pick them up, throw them away, hand washing again with the sanitizer, and back we go to a new set of gloves. So yes, we go through a lot of gloves here in the practice, but there's a reason for it. It's because we don't want to be transferring all these bacteria, oils, you know, DNA, all of this stuff back and forth between rooms, between surfaces. So we're very cautious about that. But you guys need to be taught how to do this in order to be effective, right? So now let's talk about hand washing just a little bit, because we always say, oh, sing twinkle, twinkle, little star, and do it as long as you brush your teeth and 2 minutes and whatever, all the things, right? But there's some serious, like, critical concepts that we want to think about as well. Now, where do we have the most activity, the most nerve endings, but then also like the most bacteria will be at our fingertips, okay? And then it gets progressively less of a bacterial load as we cruise up. So again, when we're scrubbing for surgery, we don't just wash our hands under the soap and water, right? We go all the way from our fingertips to our elbows, actually to 2 inches above the elbow. Okay, it's intense. It's no joke, right? But the concept is that we're washing bacteria from here down and from here down to get it rinsed off and to not accumulate bacteria that we're drawing out to the tips of the fingers that we're now driving into an incision, right? So we want to wash from here down, from here down. So we run our hands through the water, run our hands through the water. We take a scrub brush, literally a scrub brush with a very, very, very high intensity soap, and we scrub the sides of each of our fingers 10 times each. So 10, 10, 10, 10, all the way through, right? We've also taken, there's a little fingernail, and we go underneath the fingernail, cuticle, fingernail, cuticle, every single finger, do both hands. Then we do in, out, in, out, in, out. Then we do the surfaces of the hand. So back of the hand, 10 times. Front of the hand, 10 times, 10 times, 10 times. Then we go up and we do 4 sides of the arm. Again, 5 to 10 times, 5 to 10 times, 5 to 10 times, 5 to 10 times. And as we do that on both sides, and then we rinse, right? So everything's dripping off through the elbow, and we rinse. Okay, I'm putting my hands way up high because of just the video availability, but we rinse, we keep it below the shoulders, okay? Rinse below the shoulders, and we walk into the operating room like this. So again, we now do not get to reach up here or scratch our booties or do any of those things, right? We keep it between our shoulders and our waist. So again, if you're kind of wanting to really up your game on hand washing and hygiene, these are the things that you need to be aware of. Also think of the concepts that mom brought to us back in the day is like dust goes from the top down, right? So you want to like dust out the curtains and wipe the windows, then the counters, then the floor, right? So you don't vacuum your floor first and then dust, because everything you just dusted off the windowsill is now landing on your brand new clean floor, right? So use these same concepts. So we want to wash the hair, then we wash the face, come down. Ultimately, then what we were washing with is the thing that needs to get washed. So again, our hands that had been using for all of these other areas, now we wash those finally, and that's going to give us the best benefit. Now, as I said about like making everything on the planet a surgical field, and why I don't think that that's a super great idea is that we're often forgetting nowadays about the fact that there are good bacteria. And I think this is what's largely overlooked in the mainstream medical culture is that we don't appreciate the microbiome for being the protective mechanism that it is. These are our good guys, okay? So we've got staph and we've got strep and we've got all of these guys that are running around all over the surfaces of our skin. We even have bacteria living in our eyebrows and in our eyelashes to actually munch up the dead skin cells that are coming off of our eyelids and off of our face to keep our vision clear. These are beautiful bacteria. We're supposed to have them. Now, I don't want your bacteria because your bacteria are designed to best protect your body and may actually be harmful to me. So that's why we don't share mascara. That's why we don't share lipstick and so forth, right? But by the same token, then I want my bacteria to be intact. So this is why it's so critical that you're taking a probiotic, particularly during this time, right? And that you don't necessarily sanitize every single aspect of your body or even every single aspect of your home to the point of obsession. Right. And that's kind of what we've gotten to at this point because everybody's at home. What else are we doing? So let's just sanitize something. So again, my husband always loves the dishwasher because he's like, oh, it's sanitary. And I'm like, okay, until you go and you reach the dishes out and touch them and put them away. Now I've just put the bacteria from my hands into the cupboard, right? So let's not elude ourselves into thinking that everything around us is sterile because the second that like one little dust bunny comes out of our air vent and falls on our counter is no longer sterile. Okay. That's okay though, because these are the bacteria primarily that are supposed to be there and that are going to be beneficial to us. I mean, as kids, we were supposed to be running around and eating dirt and getting our knees scuffed up and doing all of that stuff is a beautiful thing because it helps to build that flora. It helps us to build antibodies to things. I know everybody knows about antibodies now, right? Antibodies are good. You cannot build antibodies if you haven't been exposed to anything. Right? So here's the problem is that we want to protect, but to what end? Then at that point, we're not exposing ourselves appropriately. We're not mounting an appropriate immune response. So what do? Whenever we are encountering something, we mount an inappropriate immune response. Our body goes crazy because it doesn't know what to do. And so then it goes into that cytokine storm and creates damage to tissues. And that's where we're having this problem. Okay, it's not that we're having an appropriate immune response, it's that it's an inappropriate immune response to these viruses and pathogens. Okay, so again, whether it's a bacteria like Haemophilus influenza or Chlamydia psittaci, it doesn't matter, right? It could be influenza A or B, which is a virus, it could be coronavirus, it doesn't matter. The reality is like how our body then responds to that virus is going to be what's key for keeping you healthy overall. And that does not entail obliterating every aspect of your normal flora. So there's skin flora that we're supposed to have. And there is also internal, like intestinal flora. We have vaginal flora. We have oral flora. We have bacteria all over us. And we are designed that way intentionally. Please don't spend your better efforts destroying what Mother Nature has put in place for a reason. It will only be to your detriment. Okay. What else has Mother Nature put in place to our benefit? Vitamin D from the sun, right? So again, we're hearing a lot of folks that don't necessarily have a medical background telling us you need to stay inside. I heard a mayor the other day saying, okay, we're having a beautiful spring day. You can go outside, but don't do a lot of things outside because this can actually be so dangerous. When in fact, sunlight has always been the best disinfectant, right? And we know that because that's how we're going to start to synthesize vitamin D. Vitamin D has huge antibacterial, antiviral properties. It has antioxidant properties. So it actually kills it helps our body to dispose of some damaged tissue and get it out of our systems. This is what's so critical. Okay, sunlight is super important for our health. It helps us to discern day from night. So it helps us to maintain our sleep cycles. Okay, that's important. If we're getting out, we also say in surgery, so another surgical concept that can now be applicable, the best solution to pollution is dilution. What does that mean? It means when we nick the bowel and we have poop running all over inside of somebody's abdomen, what do? We rinse it out, rinse it out, rinse it out, rinse it out, like copious amounts of what we call irrigation, right? We just push it out, okay? So the solution to pollution is dilution. So if we're outside, we are diluting all of our droplets, all of the things that we're respiring, okay, out into the open. It's going away as opposed to sitting indoors, breathing recycled air, breathing on our kids who are petri dishes. I love my children, but they are infectious, like little just grems. They're just grems. They're grubby. So that's just the reality, right? So with that said, then get out, be, in the open air, be in the sunlight. Those things are going to be beneficial. It's going to help us expand our lungs. Remember, this is largely a lung virus that is attacking those alveoli, which are the little itty bitty air sacs at the end of our lung bronchial tree. And so by filling that area, pulling that chest out, breathing air, is going to help our lungs with their own internal exercises, with the muscles in our rib cage that help the lungs to expand. This is so critical, again, for us to maintain that health. It helps to push out if there are any viral particles sitting in our mucosal passages. It gives us the ability to wash that out for our bodies to kind of clear everything. So that's critical too. Okay. Getting exercise in general. Again, this is why I don't understand a little bit. We sort of lost our minds a bit as far as logic is concerned. I think I piss a lot of people off because I'm very logically thinking. So it doesn't make sense logically, then I don't apply it. And so I try to apply the best logic that we can. We've known for centuries that exercise is beneficial to us. We know this. It releases endorphins, which helps with mood stabilization. It helps with pain alleviation. It helps with so much. Again, it helps us to discern day from night. So it helps us maintain an appropriate healthy sleep cycle. It helps us make better food choices and to burn up calories that are in excess, but even to utilize the calories that we have consumed all that much more efficiently. This is important, guys. So again, for people to say, like, don't do that, like, don't go outside and go for a walk. That would be just a terrible, awful, horrible thing for you to do. Don't go on a bike ride now. What is the reality that we are sitting any closer than 6 feet to somebody who's on a bicycle next to us? I mean, seriously. Like, who is riding up on me that close? If you are riding that close to me with a bicycle, you better be paying my bills. Like, I don't want you that close to me, right? So think, guys, think. Again, if somebody's walking down the street, do I go off the sidewalk into the gutter a little bit just to kind of go around and respect people's spaces? Yes, I do that, but I do not walk with a mask on. I do not run with a mask on. Let's just be honest, I don't bike like at all. I never learned how to turn corners or shift gears, so I kind of don't ride bikes in general. But with that said, again, usually if there's a bike coming at me, then, we just sort of keep each other's appropriate space. That's perfectly fine, guys. Get out, get some exercise, get that fresh air, get that sunlight. These are going to be hugely beneficial for you to maintain your immune integrity. Okay? And then go home and take a shower because there's nothing better than washing off the grime of the day, all of the viruses, the bacteria that you've picked up from rolling around in the grass with your kids or throwing a football around. Fine. Go. Get in there, get your shower, wash. Remember, from the top down, not from down up, right? We don't want feet funk up in our hair. So from the top down, and you're going to be healthy and thankful for it. You're going to sleep better. Life's going to be better, and it will hopefully provide you with fewer fears as you start to reintroduce yourself to society. So I hope this helps today. Thank you for your comments. I've seen a couple of you guys, just a lot of thank yous today, which I really appreciate. Hopefully we'll be getting more questions next time. But take care of yourselves. Be okay with this transition. I think it's time for us to start waking up as a country again. Again, with caution, we'll definitely protect our more frail of our population. But for those of us who are baseline at a very good health, it's important to maintain that by being active and being out there in the sunshine. So I will hopefully see you here next Wednesday. Make sure you click like and subscribe. I don't even know about the likes. I don't know if that's important, but click subscribe, click your notifications button so you can turn that on and you'll get notified when we're posting again. We'll see you on Friday for Field Trip Fridays. I think you're going to like this week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.